This week's edition of NJBI is Minding Your Business is brought to you in part by AT&T, helping family, friends, and neighbors connect in meaningful ways every day. By PSE&G, powering a future where people use less energy that's cleaner, safer, and delivered more reliably than ever. By New Jersey's community colleges, aligning education to build an innovative workforce. Find out how your business can benefit at njpathways.org. And by New Jersey Business Magazine, providing critical information needs for New Jersey's business community for more than 67 years.
Welcome to NJBI is Minding Your Business. I'm Bob Considine. Well, New Jersey's biopharmaceutical and medtech companies represent an important part of the state's innovation and manufacturing economies. And the Healthcare Institute of New Jersey is unquestionably one of the leading authorities and promoters of the industry in the state. So here to discuss all the goings-on in the life sciences sector is a familiar face at NJBIA and Minding Your Business, Hinge President and CEO Chrissy Bunis. Chrissy, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you back. And I hope now that you're here, it's more memories than flashbacks.
I'm thrilled to be back, Bob. Thank you.
All right. So, I think you started at Hinge just about 18 months ago now, which is crazy.
Flew by.
How fast the time goes by. But for the folks out there, let's give a primer on life sciences. I mentioned it at the intro. What is life sciences and why is it so important to New Jersey's economy?
Yeah, more importantly than what it is what we're about. And that is helping our patients live healthier, happier lives.
Right.
And so how do we do that? We are New Jersey's research-based biopharmaceutical companies and medtech companies. And so we are the folks that are manufacturing different medications. Our medtech companies are specializing in providing different products such as hip and knee replacements and scalpels for your eye. Think about the Band-Aid back developed here in New Jersey. And all the way up to diagnostics, thinking about your COVID tests and things of that nature. And so our companies, many of which are headquartered right here in the state of New Jersey, we're proud to be manufacturing and finding different treatments and cures for the patients, not only in New Jersey, but the United States and around the world.
Right. So this is a global thing that New Jersey is leading on. When we talk about what's the old saying? It's the medicine chest,
of
the world, right?
Correct.
How did that all start?
Because back over 100 years ago, we had companies like BD, Johnson & Johnson, Merck, locate to New Jersey.
Right.
And so you form this cluster of different companies, and around them come different manufacturing opportunities as well as different vendors. And then you have our higher ed institutions develop programs, teaching hospitals. And so the ecosystem, like we call it frequently, continues to build. And then that breeds a biotech sector as well. So more of your startup companies that are looking into further investment into developing our next generation of treatments and cures as well. And so in New Jersey, we're a special place. We do have a concentration of some of our major pharmaceutical and medtech companies. We have great teaching hospitals. We have a great higher ed. We're really well located right here between New York and Philadelphia on the East Coast. And it all comes together, and Hinge is focused on making sure that we not only retain that designation, but continue to build upon it into the future.
Oh, it's huge. And the numbers that it helps, how much it helps New Jersey's economy is tremendous. So we're talking about how many jobs? Do we know how many jobs is represented through life sciences?
So we have about over 350,000 direct and indirect jobs.
Wow, that's amazing.
So a significant part of New Jersey's economy. We comprise anywhere between, let's say, 15, 20-ish% of the state's gross domestic product.
Wow.
Our vendor spend and contribution is well in excess of $6 billion Our construction spending as well and contributions into the industry are in excess of over $4 billion. So you summarize all of this together, it is a significant part of New Jersey's economy. And that matters for a lot of the viewers, the members of NJBIA. This is a critical sector. It comprises a major portion of New Jersey's economy. And more importantly, we obviously service your workforce as well and making sure that they live those healthier, happier lives.
Right. So when we talk about promoting and building upon what we already have here, what is the current policy environment, both nationally and in New Jersey, in terms of upkeeping this sector?
Sure. So under Governor Murphy's administration, he has definitely leaned into building upon the innovation state. We're known not only as the medicine chest of the world, but also as the innovation state. So we have different clusters that are building upon trying to advance that innovation agenda, which the governor has really tried to promote. Some of the challenges, though, that the industry and as well as the whole business community as a whole faces is making sure that we have a competitive tax climate. We're not only competing with our surrounding states, which have a different tax structure than us, but also countries around the world. And so we want to make sure that we're in the mix, that we're competitive. We also want to make sure that we have a competitive regulatory environment as well. So making sure that when we look to put investment into a state, that from the time that we announce and put a shovel into the ground to the time that we can open up our doors for manufacturing or for research and development, that time frame is reasonable. That is a really big deal to companies because you want to be able to open your doors and get moving as soon as possible. So we would also highlight that one of the industry-specific challenges in New Jersey is that we have a prescription drug affordability board as well. And this is a board comprised of folks non-industry related that don't necessarily have all the expertise in determining how drug pricing is set, that has certain responsibilities to make recommendations to the legislature. And while very well intentioned, we do have a lot of concerns, again, especially in your home state of New Jersey, that while again, a well-intentioned board may not have the expertise and has across the country have not been proven to lower the cost of medications.
So let's stay on that with costs. Consumer costs is a big thing in all around the world and in the U.S. And I think sometimes people hear pharmaceutical companies and they think big costs. There's a reason for it. But what are some of the recommendations? I know Hinge wants to lower consumer costs as well. So how do we get there?
Well, we want to make sure our patients have access to the medications that we're discovering, and keeping in mind that 90% of all medications patients take are generic. For those that are brand name, we want to make sure that the state as well as the federal government pursue PBM reform. So we want to make sure that any rebates that we, the manufacturer, passes along to the PBM is ultimately passed along to the patient at the pharmacy counter. It's very rare in the healthcare space where a consumer actually gets, at the point of sale to see what they owe. This is one of those circumstances. And so everyone pays a different rate, which just, again, backs into the fact that the manufacturer is not setting the drug price ultimately. It is your PBM and insurer. And
a lot of people don't recognize that. They might not have even heard of a pharmacy benefit manager. And what was the other, I was looking on your website, it was another kind of a tip and tool to help.
Sure, the medicine assistance tool I think you're referring to, and so that's a website where you can, and a consumer, a patient can put into this database a prescription drug that they're looking for and see what patient assistance programs our member companies offer, as well as any government programs are offered at a reduced rate. So I highly encourage the public to utilize this tool. It's mat.org, and we'd be happy at Hinge to also assist anybody as best we can.
Okay, great. I wanted to get in where I was going to go with this R&D. Those are expensive costs, right? And so I think you hit on it a little bit a little while ago, but like sometimes Is it right that maybe U.S. companies might pay more to R&D than other countries around the world?
So the innovation is happening here in the United States, and we should be proud of that.
Right.
But yes, there are cases where the United States has paid more than in other countries, but we want to make sure that in working with the administration at the federal level as well, that we're keeping the investment here in the United States and that this innovation continues. You have to keep in mind, because this is frequently talked about, well, why don't you just lower prices or have innovation spread out other places? What is important to note that for every 5,000 molecules, only like a small percentage, a handful, actually become a medication that patients can take. So you have a huge failure rate. Think about it from an investment perspective outside of the pharmaceutical industry. Would you be willing to take on that risk? And so you have to go through a lot of different testing and trying and clinical trials, and that costs money because you want to make sure that the
product works.
And
it's safe.
And every human being is different, so it's going to react differently. You need to make sure that product is safe.
You do wish people would recognize that sometimes. Let's talk, just go federally a little bit. I was reading just before we got here today, there was Associated Press put out an analysis, and it said there were 350 anti-vaccine bills across the country proposed so far during the Trump administration. Only about 24 or so have actually become anti-vaccine laws in 11 states. But what is the kind of the tone and temperament right now in terms of this industry and the feds?
Well, we have been long providing vaccines to the patient population. I mean, whether it be COVID, flu, measles, the list goes on. And so we have been able to eradicate a lot of different diseases because of vaccines. And so we have been encouraging everyone to make sure that they're up to speed on their state as well as any federal recommendations. But right here in New Jersey at this point in time, our state Department of Health and Department of Banking and Insurance have ensured that vaccines are available to our patients. Governor Murphy has as well. And so we want to continue to make sure that we have vaccines available for our entire patient population, again, because we have eradicated many of those very deadly diseases.
I know here at BIA, we're always hearing about tariffs and the threat of tariffs, and there's going to be a tariff, there's not going to be a tariff. In biopharmaceuticals, is that an issue? What are we dealing with tariffs, generally speaking? So
there were going to be tariffs. Right now, those have been put on hold. And what we're seeing is that companies have been working with the administration to determine what is the best course for them to move forward to ensure that they're able to invest here in the United States, but also able to provide the medications to the patients that they serve as well. And so those conversations are taking place. But again, needless to say, anything that would increase the cost on a raw product that goes into any of our med devices or into the pharmaceutical would obviously be a challenge for the industry. But we are working with the administration. We'll continue to weigh in, provide comments where necessary, and appreciate all stakeholders as well that are working with us.
Well, it's funny, Chris, as you were talking, and I still can't believe it's been 18, 19 months since you left, but I mean, now that you've been at Hinge, you're well established, you're everywhere on social media, I can't even believe, I'm like, are there two Chrissies? But I mean, what was your goal in taking over, and are you on your way there in terms of?
First, I love what I do, and I have a fantastic team at Hinge, and that should definitely be recognized. And again, our member companies, many of which have been in existence here, called New Jersey home for over 100 years. They want to continue to grow here. And my goal and Hinge's goal has been to just make sure that we're educating the public, that our member companies are able to provide the life-saving cures and treatments to the patients of New Jersey, to the United States, to folks around the world, and to just remind everyone that this is a critical industry in New Jersey. We're proud to call New Jersey home. We are finding these life-saving treatments, and we should be proud that it's being done right here in our Garden State.
Well, they've got the best cheerleader in New Jersey
you.
for it. Folks, if you want to learn more about the Healthcare Institute of New Jersey, you're going to go to hinge.org. That's hinj.org. And also go check them out on social media and follow them. Chris and Judith, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Bob, and appreciate all of NJBIA's support.
Okay, we'll be back right after these words.
Did you know cleaning and tuning your furnace, burner, boilers, and flues can save you energy and money? Plus, there are rebates for that. Believe it. For more, connect at bizsave.pseg.com, your trusted partner in energy efficiency.
Welcome back to NJBIA's Minding Your Business as we return to our recently held Women Business Leaders Forum. This was the 11th annual Women's Conference, drawing more than 550 attendees over 2 motivational days, and it concluded with a fun and interactive keynote speech from Emily Lampkin, the founder of the Women's Leaders Series. Let's join her now as she gives tips and tools to grow your personal and professional brand. Have a look.
I have worked in business and government my whole career. And while I was doing that, I was studying what made women successful. And not just successful, meaning you've got a fancy title, but who are the women who were getting up every morning, thriving in their life? And I took notes, and over time it became clear they excelled in 3 areas. Number 1, selling you. They had a brand, they knew how to clearly communicate who they are, and they used that to get what they wanted. 2, widening the circle. These women were building and utilizing a dynamic network to get what they wanted. 3, these women were going now. They weren't waiting for things to happen. And they were getting out of their own way. And they were using that to do what? Get what they wanted. What makes the Women Leaders Series unique is this is usable, doable, and effective in whatever way you're leading in your life. Selling you and having a brand that's effective starts with clear messaging about you and what you want. This is a message grid, used oftentimes in advertising and sales, and frankly, back in my hometown, in political campaigns. The most important thing to note here is them on us. What is your opposition? What is your competition going to say about you? Because your message, your brand, relies on you heading off what they're going to say about you and what is in this top grid, us on us. How do you define yourself? We often want to define ourselves with all the rainbows and unicorns, right? All the fabulous things about us. You need to know what your opposition's going to say about you because you're going to head off that with your message. Once you have a message grid put together, you need to know who you're talking to. Men and women communicate differently. Our brains are wired differently. And if you're communicating with a man the same way you would communicate with a woman, you're losing. Let me give you some examples. We are looking to communicate from a place of consensus. That's why our conversations often take longer to begin, right? We're looking for something in common to start a conversation. Men's brains are not wired like that. Their brains are wired that there's one up and one down in a conversation. And when men are wired like that, we have to communicate differently with them. Here's one way. If I'm talking to a man who's a one-up in a conversation, I'm going to use the term I versus we, which is what I would use with a woman. I'm going to take clear credit for my accomplishments. He's expecting that. I may also interrupt him, something I would never do with you all. But since I'm really good at communicating with men because I've perfected my selling you, I'm going to do it in a way that he's going to like. It's going to say something like this. Oh, you'll appreciate this. Then he's drawn into what I'm saying, and I have a better opportunity to communicate with him. All right, so you've got a message grid. You know what you're going to say about yourself because you understand where your opposition is coming from. You know who your audience is. Then, what am I going to do with all of that information? These are all the things that are part of having a brand, and none of it works until you perfect a selling you pitch. Anybody here familiar with an elevator pitch? Okay, this is similar but better. A selling you pitch starts with a smile. I know many of these things you all already know. That's why I call it perfecting the tools you already have. But when it comes to a selling you pitch, you have a mere moment to make a first impression. And the only way to do that is with a genuine smile. Number 2, your selling you pitch needs to be brief. 30 seconds should be your goal. Can you stretch it up to 60 seconds? Possibly. You go any longer, you've lost your audience. 3, you need to say your name clearly. That's your first and last name. And I always tell women, if you're lucky enough to have a name that everybody's not familiar with, please use a phonetic tool or something else to help people understand how to properly pronounce your name. We want to use your name in conversation, and you want people to use it, but you got to help us out. 3, and I've heard some of this today, is the who I am. What you don't want to hear is the reading of the resume. The reading of the resume is boring. It's also ineffective. What you want to do is tell a story. This is where women excel. We are great storytellers. Has my husband told me at times I never let the truth get in the way of a good one? Yes, but I'm a great storyteller, so are you. Put your message in the form of a story and tell a brief story. Finally, a selling you pitch has an ask. This is where we do not excel, asking for what we want. So at the end of every selling you pitch you deliver, you're going to ask for something. It could be as simple as, I'd like to know more about you. Tell me how you know the host. Tell me about your business. What I have learned is women who are thriving in their lives are asking for what they want, and that also means when we ask for big things, I'd like a $50,000 investment in my business, becomes a whole lot easier and is delivered with a whole lot more confidence when we're used to asking for what we want. The other last piece of a selling you pitch I want to share with you is after you make that ask, you need a hard stop. We get a little bit nervous in silence. It makes us uncomfortable. We got to get comfortable being uncomfortable because there is power in that silence. I hear endless stories from women. They got what they wanted because they sat there in that silence. Let's do that and let's practice. Okay, so you now have a selling you pitch. And one other thing you need to do is you need to practice it. And I've heard some of the guests describe it in different ways about the mentor or somebody you can ask for help or honest input. I call it a swimsuit friend. And that's why I like being in audiences with women, is we have a unique appreciation for this. You kind of already know what it is. It's not the you're so pretty friend, that friend who, no matter if you haven't washed your hair in 4 days, says, oh my gosh, you're so pretty. Not that friend. She's going to tell you your selling you pitch is fantastic, even if it still needs work. You're going to practice with your swimsuit friend, the friend you would take swimsuit shopping with you because she's going to tell you the truth. Women are building and maintaining a dynamic network both in person and on social media. If you're looking to potentially take notes in the back of that fabulous booklet that Michelle gave you, now would be the time. I'm going to walk you through some of the basics of working an event for success. You are all capable of doing this even better than you do it now. Number one, you need to have a plan. Never go to an event without a plan. What am I getting out of this? What do I want? It can be as simple as I'm going to meet 3 new people and thank the host for inviting me. Or it could be really targeted, right? Sometimes we go to an event because we're looking to be introduced to somebody in particular. And a hint is, I often go to the host and ask them to directly introduce me to that person I want to meet. What a better way to show your credibility from the beginning, but to ask that. Number 2, you do not have to go to the whole thing. I think we often block on our schedule. It's a 2-hour event, and so we block 2 hours on our calendar. You don't need to do that. If you've got a plan in place, you can go for 20 minutes, accomplish everything you want to accomplish, and you still have time to go to your child's sporting event or meet friends for dinner. So I live in Washington, D.C., the home of the networking event. I can knock out 3 or 4 in a night because every time I'm walking in, I know exactly what I want to get out of it, and I can walk out and go to the next one. You need to have some questions you would ask to start a conversation. How do you know the host? Have you been to this event before? And there's funner questions you can ask as well. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live? If you could quit your job tomorrow and do something completely different, what would you do? As we've heard today, people are looking to make a human connection. That's imperative to doing business. So make that human connection with somebody. Be prepared with your selling you pitch. This is where you deliver it, and this is where you learn what needs to be tweaked. You can tag team with somebody. I have a variety of different colleagues and friends that I tag team at events with because we know different groups of people, we can share who we know, and who enjoy this kind of activity, and so it always becomes more enjoyable as well. Next, I'm going to tell you about the power of a line at an event. You're going to know all my secrets. I always say I don't go to an event to drink or eat. My goal is to take my plan into action there. But you can often find me in the bar line or the food line. Why? Everybody is paralyzed there. No one has anywhere to go. You get to meet everybody in front of you and everybody behind you. Years ago, I was in line for a White House event, and the security line was very long. You all, I think I knew 60 people by the time I got in there. Nobody's going anywhere. Why not? Collect them, put them in your LinkedIn. Trade business cards, trade stories. Finally, another strength for women, wear something memorable. Some people wear bright clothes. I have a friend who's an introvert, and when she goes to conferences, she carries a fun handbag. It makes it easier for other people to approach her and for her to start conversations. Now, I will tell you, we women love compliments. This doesn't translate as well to men. I also often say with networking events, one of my asks I'll ask women at the end is, I would like to be your friend. I have learned through practical experience, you cannot use that line with men because they confuse friendship with other things. So use that exclusively with women. Finally, networks aren't great if you don't use them. You need to make asks. You need to get comfortable making those asks. I call it planned serendipity. When you have a network and you make asks, there's opportunities that come your way that you would have never foreseen. And there's only one way not to be a part of planned serendipity, and that's not having the network and not asking for what you want. Oh, and connect with me on LinkedIn. There, your brand applies just as well. That selling you pitch in written form is your introduction on LinkedIn. I love that we are all on LinkedIn, and if you're not there, another place where planned serendipity takes place, except if you're not there. So here I am at my ask. See, I'm good at making asks. If you're interested in bringing the Women Leaders series virtually or in person to your group, reach out to me. I am always looking for feedback. If you liked something or didn't like something, reach out to me. Join our movement on social media. Every Friday, among other things, I provide Friday tips for women. Just simple reminders we need that are helpful that you can implement immediately. Thank you to the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and Michelle for letting me spend some time with you, my new friends.
All right, thanks to our speakers, panelists, and moderators from the 11th Annual Women Business Leaders Forum, and thank you for joining us on NJBI is Minding Your Business. We'll see you next time.
Did you know switching the airflow direction of your ceiling fan each winter and summer can help you conserve energy and save money? Believe it. For more, connect at bizsave.pseg.com, your trusted partner in energy efficiency.